Greetings. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one of those people who is really big on change. I like things pretty much the way they are. I try to get it set up so that I'm comfortable with something. I know where everything is. I know what my time schedules are like. And then I stick to them. I buy the same kind of pins all the time. I buy the same food. you know, I don't do a lot of change. When I'm on the road, or when I used to be on the road a lot, sometimes I would give a new restaurant a shot because I'm out of town and I figure, you know what, let's go ahead and try it. And half the time I ended up feeling sick to my stomach later on in the evening and saying, that was a bad idea. But the other times I said, wow, that was pretty good. I'm going to go there again, especially if I was out of town for a while. But in general, like I said, I'm not necessarily big on change. So imagine what happened to me last week. I have 4 blogs. That's too many, but still, I have 4 blogs on different topics. And there was an update for the software. And I updated 3 of my blogs. And I immediately lost some of the content. Not content that I wrote, but comments that other people had written on some of my articles. And it wasn't on my site. In other words, on the administration panel on the inside, I could see all the comments, but on the outside, there were no comments. And I wouldn't have noticed it if someone hadn't written me and said, hey, I don't see my comment showing on your blog post. To which I went to look to see if maybe it was in moderation, and there it was fine. But when I went to check it, there was no comment, and it wasn't any other comments. And it was on 3 of my blogs. One blog I hadn't even thought about updating at the time, and so that one still had comments. So I spent a bunch of time trying to fix this issue. The problem was that I use a theme, or at least I've been using a theme that I started using back in 2008 or 2009. And the reason I stuck with that theme over all these years is because I knew how to code it, I knew how to customize it, so that if it was associated with a website, I could change the color, I could change the font, and if it wasn't, then I could, change it around. I mean, one of them, for instance, is a local blog, even though I write articles on there that aren't necessarily local, but I'm in the Syracuse area. The college team is called the Syracuse Orange, so the background was slightly orange. I love that, but new updates and everything else, the web has changed a lot over the course of 10 years or 11 years, and it just couldn't handle it anymore. So I went into panic mode. I reached out to someone to see if maybe he could recode my old theme. He said, no, that's impossible. He looked at it, but he says, no, can't be done. He came up with some ideas, but the one idea he said was, you're probably going to have to update to a newer theme. And I didn't want to update to a newer theme. I liked what I had, but I recognized that, I've got to break out of it. And so I'm testing it on one of my blogs right now. And I found something that I said, it's similar to what I had, but it's newer. And it looks fine. I can't say it looks perfect because there's things it won't let me do that I could do with my other theme. But it looks okay. And I have 2 more blogs to do, actually 3, but I got to think about that other one a little bit more. And I thought about it and I said, for someone who has in the past talked about how to help other people, mainly employees, work through change, or when there's changes that happen with procedures, whatever, maybe there's a change in leadership, change in processes, that I would have difficulty, that much difficulty, in this kind of change is interesting. And it brings back the reality that we all have to deal with change every once in a while. I mean, let's face the fact here. From the beginning of this year, we've had all kind of changes that we've had to deal with. And you know what? The virus hasn't helped. The George Floyd thing hasn't helped. The meltdown of society with riots, not protests, but with riots. Just all kinds of things that are going on. Change is hard to deal with. Even some cities have defunded the police or changed, some of the funding around. It's a tough world now. but change is inevitable. Change is sometimes a good thing. Most of the time, change is good. Let's face the facts here. It certainly can't stick around for 100 years doing the exact same thing. It just doesn't work that way. So, we change. I mean, really, I think about it, and it was only probably 2012 when I got a phone that you could send text messages on. That's a shame because they'd had text messages for a long time. And it was the first time I had a camera on my phone. And now I love both text messages and I love taking pictures. So there's some change that's easy to adapt to, some that we have to do kicking and screaming. But in the long run, most changes are positive. And if we can find our ways to move on with the changes in a positive way, even if it's not exactly what we had before, it's probably better in a lot of ways. That's just my little talk about change. I know I'm not the only one going through it. You guys, if you have any changes that you've had problems with, let me know how you handled it. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.